And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk about her statement, and there's three things I want to invite you to consider. First, I want to talk about the word attaching good or bad to a habit. Then I want to talk about habits and how do we create new habits. Lastly, I want to talk about being realistic when it comes to changing habits. And we'll end with practical application and a call to action. The background behind this story is that we were going over a communication tool that is very effective. And what it is that instead of approaching a patient with wanting to fix something, telling them what to do, the idea is that you ask permission. It is a really incredible communication tool. When you ask permission, it empowers your patient to say yes if they are willing and wanting to engage. And usually they do because usually it sparks curiosity. They also might say no, which is completely okay. In healthcare, we've really gotten in the habit of telling, and we don't ever consider a no. And it's good to know ahead of time that our patient might not be ready. So that's the tool we were discussing. And the nurse in the group was saying she had found value in doing that. She found that when she asked permission, her patients were listening, their conversation was more engaging. She said, "It's really good when I remember to do it." Remember, in the comment, she said, "The challenge is that when I'm busy or stressed, I revert to bad habits." What she meant by that, she goes back to telling and telling people what to do and not asking permission before she shares. So that's the first thing I want us to talk about is this idea of good or bad habits. And what I want to invite you to consider is that what if there weren't good or bad habits? What if we just have habits in general? And for the sake of this conversation, we are going to define a habit is that thing you do in response to something else, and you've done it so many times that you just do it without thinking. It's your habit. And in this particular example, the habit is fixing or telling someone what to do. And the new habit we're considering is asking permission before sharing any information or before having a conversation. Good or bad? I don't believe we benefit from calling a habit good or bad. When we call something bad, it just adds an extra layer of guilt. I should. And those feelings are not generally helpful in making changes. It takes up a lot of energy, and we could be using that energy to change. So what I want to invite you to consider, not just in this example, but for any example in your life, is that there really aren't good or bad habits. There are habits that produce better outcomes for you, and there are habits that might not be helping you. They're not necessarily good or bad. It's just one produces a better outcome. And you, the person, must decide which habit produces the better outcome. And you, the person, decides if you want to change, if you want to put the effort to change a habit. Okay, so that's the first thing to consider. Not good or bad habits, just habits that produce better outcomes. And the invitation now is to start looking at your habits and determining, does this produce the best outcomes for me? Is there something different I could do to produce better outcomes. Okay, so that was the first item. Two, oh my goodness. I just thought it was so insightful that she noticed that she wanted to do something different. She noticed that she liked this evidence-based tool of asking permission before sharing information. She noticed she had better outcomes. She noticed that her patients did better. So she was thinking in her mind, I want to change. In our class, she shared with us, I see the value. I want to change. I also noticed that when I'm stressed or busy, I go back to that other habit. That makes sense. That's why it's called a habit. Remember, we defined habit is that thing you do when you're triggered. A certain event will trigger something, and it's the response you give because it's a habit. You've done it so many times that that's how you respond without thinking. And when I say respond, it could be verbal or it could be a physical action, something you do. Either one qualifies. Now, because you have done something thousands of times, that's what makes it a habit, is that you've done it thousands of times. That's why it's difficult to change. So, creating a new habit will require lots of reps. And it's really important that we be realistic because I see time and time again that people give up on building a new habit because they get discouraged. And we just have to be realistic and remind ourselves that it's a habit because I've done it thousands of times. And now I have to do this new thing thousands of times to make it a habit. So that requires practice and that requires time, which now leads me to this third consideration of how do you make a realistic change when you want to change your habits? How do you do that? Well, I want to invite you to make a commitment. And I want to invite you to make the commitment to practice. What this will require is your dedication and commitment to pay attention to when this comes up. Whenever the situation comes up where you want to replace a current habit with a new one, it means that you are committing to paying attention to when it happens. You're on the lookout. And whenever you notice, instead of doing the habit, you're going to replace it with the new habit. I invite you to not be hard on yourself anytime you do the old habit. That's going to happen. It's going to take time. And the nicer we are to ourselves and the more curious we are, the more compassionate, the quicker we can start replacing the new habit. Feeling guilty and criticizing ourselves when we're not changing as quick as we want to is really it's not a good use of our energy. It doesn't yield good results. Instead, I invite you to just be curious. Oh, I'm doing the old habit. That's not what I want to do anymore. I want to do this. And you stop and you replace the old habit with the new habit. So, what does this look like? Let's go back to the example of the nurse that was in my communication class. What she's going to be doing is she recognizes that the old habit is when she's talking to a patient, she tells them what to do. She gives them resources. She says, Here, do this. That's the old habit. The new habit is she now wants to say, Is it okay if we talk about X, Y, or Z? Is it okay if I share this tool? Is it all right if I show you something that's worked for other patients that were in similar situations. That's the new habit. So moving forward, she's going to notice anytime she wants to fix or tell, and instead she's going to ask for permission. She's also going to be on the lookout for when she does the old habit, which is it's to be expected. It is absolutely to be expected because it's so ingrained that she will start to tell, and that's okay. But the moment she notices making the commitment of stopping, I'm sorry. I don't even know if you want this information. Is it okay? And she's going to practice this until this becomes the new habit. This becomes the new way of being. This is what will happen even when she's in a rush, even when she's stressed, because it's become the new habit. Let's talk about you. What is one small thing you have been wanting to change? One thing that you have this habit and you've discovered a new potential habit that yields better results, but it's not a habit yet. You're still doing this one. So when you have one in mind, I'm going to ask you to commit, to be on the lookout, to be on the lookout for any time life is happening and you're wanting to do the old habit. And instead, you're going to do the new habit. And you're going to do your best to do this habit first, right? This new thing. But you're also recognizing that I've been doing this for a very long time. It's become an ingrained habit and it's okay. As soon as I notice I'm doing this, I'm going to stop and I'm going to do the new habit instead. And I am committed to doing this new habit as many times as I need to until it becomes the new way of operating. Are you in? Let me know in the comments or message me if you are committed to replacing an old habit with a new habit that yields better results. You can do this with your communication. You can do it with your health. You can do it with any habit. I am rooting for your success times 1,000. I hope this was helpful. If so, please share with your network. We are better together, and together we can heal healthcare. It all starts with you. I'm rooting for your success. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.